Hey everyone, I'm Mariana, and today I wanted to talk to you about a ghost story. As some of you may already know, I am a big fan of A24, so this being an A24 film, I absolutely had to see it. I actually saw it the other week, but I purposefully wanted to wait to film this review because this film had a really powerful emotional effect on me, and sometimes you just watch a film on a day where you're in the mood for that type of thing, so I wanted to see if this was actually going to stick with me for a while, and it definitely did. If you haven't heard of A Ghost Story, this is written and directed by David Lowery and starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. It's not Poltergeist or Ghostbusters. This is a supernatural drama of sorts that's a very slow burn artistic meditation on life and loss and moving on and time and meaning. I think you get what kind of movie this is. It's a very beautiful and melancholic film that is idea-driven rather than character or plot-driven. There isn't that much dialogue in it either, and the main character is this silent ghost wearing a bedsheet. This is definitely not a film for everybody, and I think from my description of it, you can tell if this is the type of film you're going to enjoy or not. I can easily see somebody watching this and thinking this was boring and kind of pointless. I don't think it's boring or pointless, but if you are more into plot-driven films, this is probably not for you. It's a pretty difficult film to review as well because, as I mentioned, it is more of a meditation on life and more of an idea put on film to a lot of gorgeous music rather than your traditional storytelling. I can sit here and tell you that this is beautifully shot and its cinematography is beautiful and Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck are great and all of that, but you kind of already know that if you've even seen some photos from this movie, especially if you've seen the trailer. The trailer is pretty much a really short version of the movie. This is also why I'm not going to tell you anything about the plot, because you either don't say anything at all or you reveal the entire film in 1 or 2 sentences. I will say that this film feels very personal and very intimate to the point that I felt in a few scenes that I really shouldn't be watching this in a strange way. Not like there is any kind of graphic sex scene or anything like this, but the interactions between the characters and the emotions this film is trying to convey are just so powerful and so simple that they feel very real. For example, there's a scene between Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara where they are just cuddling in bed and there isn't really much going on, but this scene just keeps going and going and it feels much longer than it actually is, and the more you watch it, the more you feel like this is a very intimate moment that you shouldn't be a part of and you don't even know why somebody filmed this. Likewise, there's another example of this that happens pretty early on, and if you have heard something about this movie, you probably have heard of this scene, and it's of Rooney Mara eating a pie for a really long time. You literally watch her eat an entire pie and you kind of wonder in the beginning, why is this still happening? Why is this uninterrupted take of Rooney Mara eating a pie important? And as you watch her, because the director pretty much forces you to observe this seemingly ordinary action of eating a pie, you start understanding the underlying emotion, even though there really isn't that much happening. This is a tactic that David Lowery uses in this film a lot. He forces you to watch a scene that goes on for what feels way too long because he wants you to stop trying to figure out the larger picture and just hone in on the emotions of the scene and focus on the details and on the daily life and how all of this is such a small moment in the universe that feels big for the person who's experiencing it. It almost feels like a trick that he uses over and over again, where instead of telling you the story, he wants the audience to fill in the gaps and to project their own emotions and their own understanding of what's going on. And if you're not a fan of that, and if you are a fan of straightforward storytelling, this may be very, very frustrating frustrating. But if you are in a meditative mood and you want to think about the meaning of life as you're watching really beautifully framed shots, then this movie is definitely for you. Now, I can't talk about A Ghost Story without mentioning the music, because the score for this film is one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard. And the song that you hear in the trailer, I think broke me a little bit, because I was tearing up as I was watching the film when this song started playing, because of everything that it stands for, and also because it's just a beautiful song. And now I have this kind of hobby of torturing myself by listening to this song and getting sad all over again. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but it's just so beautiful and so heartbreaking in the right way that, combined with the gorgeous visuals, this whole experience just puts you in this mood of contemplation and thinking about what is the meaning of life and why are we here? I'm realizing that I'm making this film sound really pretentious, and I think in the hands of a wrong director, it could come off like that, and it could come off weird in the wrong way. But in this case, this is one of the most beautiful films that I've seen all year, and it's definitely in the top 5 for me right now. Going back to the length of some of these scenes, or rather how long they actually feel, because the movie is around an hour and a half, but it feels much longer than that because of all of these scenes. Some of them do feel a little bit too long. There's particularly one scene, and it's later in the movie, of this guy having a monologue, and it just goes on, and it's not that what he's saying isn't interesting, it's just that you understand his point pretty early on, but he keeps circling back to it over and over again. But also in the beginning, you can't escape thinking that these scenes go on for a little bit too long. And even though that's the point, and the director wants them to feel like they're going on forever, you still kind of have to adjust to that. I remember early on my husband turning to me and he said, "This movie is going to be a long one, isn't it?" And he ended up really enjoying the film just as much as I did, but there is a period of adjustment in the beginning that can kind of throw you off a little bit. So if I had to pick something to complain about, those would be the things. However, there's no doubt that this film is very emotionally charged and powerful, and I really liked the little nod to more traditional ghost movies. There's definitely a scene that looks like your traditional ghost movie, but you see it from a slightly different perspective, and I thought that was very interesting. Overall, I loved A Ghost Story, and even though I did think there were a few scenes that went on for a little bit too long, it really doesn't change the fact that this film had a huge impact on me and has stayed with me for over a week now. I would love to see it again, because I think this is the type of film that you get more and more out of on repeat viewings. I also wanted to make sure people know what this movie is about, rather than judging it by its title and by the poster and thinking it's a horror film and not seeing it because they think it's a horror film, because not everybody likes horror. So if this is playing somewhere around you, I would definitely check it out and support this film, because it deserves attention. For me, this is a solid 4.5 out of 5, and as I mentioned, one of my favorites of the year so far. That's it for this review. Let me know if you guys have seen this film and what did you think of it. I would love to discuss it in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!